listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. You can send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main radio website where you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365, as well as the Monday to Friday show from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight at www.xzoneradiotv.com. And don't forget, March the 21st, the X-Zone Radio Show will be on the Mutual Broadcast Network from 3 p.m. in the afternoon until 7 p.m. at night, Monday through Friday. Wow, we are growing, thanks to you, the members of the X-Zone Nation. My guest this hour is Michael Fox. He's worked as a paranormal investigator for almost 30 years. He's been the director of several different groups across the country, including 3 AM Paranormal on the West Coast, to 3 AM Midwest in Missouri, Southwestern Paranormal Research in Alabama, and Fox Family Paranormal in Georgia. He became interested in the paranormal when he had his own paranormal encounter as a teenager, and ever since then he wanted to learn more. Joining me now is Michael Fox. And Michael, welcome to the X-Zone.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Michael, what was that paranormal encounter you had as a teenager that launched you into a 30-year quest, trying to find out what exactly is going on in the world of the paranormal?
When I was about 14 or 15 years old, I started having activity in a home that my parents had just bought, and I had a bedroom upstairs, and it started very mild, but it kept getting worse and worse, and it had reached the point that the bed would actually slide across the floor when I was in it at night.
And what was causing it?
I'm assuming at this point in my life, after I've been investigating for so many years, it was some type of entity. I don't know if it was a demonic or a human-type entity, but it was some type of entity trying to make contact or let me know that it was there, and I don't know if it meant any harm at the time or not. As a child, it scared me, and I just wanted to get away from there.
Did it ever harm you physically?
No, it never harmed me physically as in touching me, but it would slam doors in front of me. Like I said, it would move the bed. Dresser drawers would open up and close during the night. I would hear footsteps in the hall outside the door or room, and it would go on almost every night.
Now, prior to your family moving into that house, were there any reports of paranormal activity?
At the time, I didn't think so, but years later, I started researching it and found out, yes, there had been reports of activity in that old house. The house was actually a little over 100 years old at the time. And it was a Midwest home.
All right, so when it comes to trying to find out who it was or what it was and why it was targeting you instead of anybody else in the house, what conclusions did you come up with?
Well, I think one of the things I did come up with is my sensitivity to the paranormal. I found out over the years that I seem to be quite sensitive to it, and I'm able to make contact easier than other investigators at times. And I've gotten, EVP evidence that backed that up over the years. When I've asked questions, it seems like they would actually know who I am on different cases when I would go on a case. They seem to know I was coming, and they know who I was when I got there.
Fascinating story. Exonation. My guest this hour is Michael Fox. We're talking about ITC research, demonology, ghosts, things that go bump in the night. This hour here in the X Zone. For more information on Michael, www.foxfamilyparanorma.wix.com/FFPS. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Exonation, earlier today we received some video footage of an alleged UFO, multiple UFO sighting in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. There was only 13 seconds of this video. The event was apparently reported to MUFON by a person living in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, where our base is for Relmar McConnell Media Company and the X Zone Radio TV show. So we were able to use our equipment as well as our contacts in law enforcement, the military, air traffic control, both military and civilian, and use our photo analysis and video analysis technology that we have here at Relmar. And lo and behold, guess what, Exonation? You've got that right. It was a hoax. Now, if you'd like to see our analysis, go to www.youtube.com/X Zone Radio TV. My guest this hour is Michael Fox, and we're talking about demonology, ghosts, things that go bump in the night, EVPs, and ITC research. His website is Fox Family Paranorma.wix.com/FFPS. From an early age, you were involved in the paranormal. When did you decide, Michael, to start it as a full-time quest, to find out and to help others who may have or are undergoing some sort of haunting or demonic activity?
When I was in my mid-20s, after I had gotten out of the military, is when I started actively investigating the paranormal and working with other groups.
All right, so how did you get involved, and what did you do? Because had you had any experience investigating the paranormal prior to joining this group?
No, just on my own, like a lot of people have done. You just start going to haunted houses or alleged haunted houses and going through them and going to cemeteries that people have reported, things happening. And then it just grew from there, and my interest just kept building and building. And then I finally was asked to be a member of a paranormal team, and I started at the bottom and worked my way up and ended up, a director of 3 different teams across the country.
In your opinion, Michael, what was the most frightening or bizarre case that you have ever worked on?
Probably one of the most bizarre cases I've ever worked on was a a case that had come to me when I was still directing a team in Missouri. It was an old newspaper building that had been there for almost 230 years, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it is closed up, and they had reports of stuff for years going on in there. And the current owners at the time asked me if I would bring a team in and investigate it, and I said, sure. So we scheduled it, and I went in, and the very first night I went in, we set up the equipment, and I got on the radio, and I called the team. I said, meet me out front before we start this investigation outside. And I started to go out the door, and all of a sudden I heard this voice that said, don't go. And I mean, it was audible. It was like right in the room with me. And I turned around and I looked, and of course I didn't see anything. And then I started out the door again, and then the door shut in front of me, like it didn't want me to leave.
Oh my gosh.
That kind of, shook me up a little bit. But it goes back to, I guess my sensitivity to the paranormal. It seems like they're drawn to me.
Now, did you find out who this entity was, and what did you subsequently end up doing about this entity in the 200 and some odd year old newspaper building?
Actually, through our research and several investigations, when I did that case, we did find out that there was actually several entities inhabiting this premises, and at least two of them were females. At one point in history, the bottom part of the building was a dress shop back in the old Wild West days. And two sisters apparently had run this dress shop, and two of these entities apparently was these two sisters. We got confirmation on that. It's one of the best EVPs that I'd ever heard. I had two investigators upstairs in this building, and they were the only two people in the building at the time. I usually used to send them in twos or threes at a time and keep everybody else out of the building. And I had two people in there at the time, and they had their recorders running. And when we reviewed the digital recordings, we heard these footsteps walking up to them and a woman's voice going, "My sister Mary."
And what's the significance of that EVP?
Through the research, we did find out that one of the sisters' name was Mary, and the other sister's name was Susan.
So what do you do once you establish that, yes, there is a presence, yes, that this the spirit has a history in the building that you're doing the investigation? What do you do then?
Well, we establish, as far as, we make sure, if it's an intelligent haunting or a residual haunting. If it's an intelligent haunting, then it's interacting with us, and then we try to find out why they're still there. If there's something they needed to hang on to, we have people on our teams that specialize in helping, spirits try to move over or cross over, as some people think of it. But we try to help the spirits as much as we help the owners. I mean, we try to help both sides of it.
Now, do you use psychics as part of your investigation team?
Yeah, we do have, actually my wife, she's also the demonologist, Destiny Fox. She's the head demonologist of our team, and she's also a psychic and sensitive, and she works with other team members extensively on this particular thing.
Now, how does one become a demonologist?
A demonologist, there's really no formal training for it other than my wife, Destiny. She is actually an ordained minister, so, she studied the biblical side in extensive time, and she's also studied the paranormal, and she's used both the knowledge from both sides
right,
to form, her expertise in demonology. And when we do have a case that involves demonic presence, if we feel it's demonic, I usually let her. She takes charge of that case at that point, because I don't normally work with the demonology side as much.
Now, you say your wife is an ordained minister. Did she go to a seminary, and or was she a self-taught minister or an ordained minister?
No, she did the whole thing. She was with a organized religious church, and she studied and had to take the test, and she actually worked as a minister in a church setting for a number of years.
How does one's religion play when it comes to dealing with the paranormal?
Well, the religious side, as we deal with it, we usually deal with the religious beliefs of the client more than anything else.
I see.
As far as the entities or spirits go, it doesn't seem like any formal religion makes a difference for them. But it does on how we deal with it, as far as the client is present and how they want things handled, far in their own belief. So that's what we try to do. We try to focus anything we do, to appease the client as far as in their beliefs. So we research whatever religion they are and deal with it from that point.
How long does a usual paranormal investigation take?
Anywhere on a night's investigation, anywhere from, I would say, 6 to 8 to 9 hours.
And how many members of your team would go with you and work on this investigation?
We take probably at least 9 to 10 people.
Wow. And are the investigations done during the day as well as at night?
The research, all the footwork is done during the day, in prior days before the investigation, and we usually go into the house or the premises or the building for the investigation early in the evening. I have 2 very, very good tech guys that set up our camera equipment. We run a 12-camera DVR system, so we're able to comb most buildings pretty good with the cameras.
Why
and,
wouldn't
they have all that?
I was just going to ask you why you wouldn't do an investigation during the day when it's much easier to see the surroundings and a lot safer for you and your team.
We have done some daytime investigations, but it seems like over the years that the energy level, usually around 3 a.m., between like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., 3 a.m. seems to be the prime. The energy level is highest, so that seems to boost the paranormal activity.
All right, stand by. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation, Michael Fox is our guest this hour. We're talking about demonology, ghost, hauntings. We're going to talk about EVPs. We're going to be talking about ITC and much more this hour here in the X Zone. If you'd like to find out more about Michael and his group, his website is Fox Family Paranorma.wix.com/FFPS. That's Fox Family Paranorma.wix.com/FFPS. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. You can join me here Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight, and starting March the 21st from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. Pacific on the Mutual Broadcast Network. Michael and I will be back on the other side of this break with the news. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
www.foxfamily.wix.com/FFPS is the website where you can contact Michael Fox. He is in Georgia, and we're talking to Michael tonight about his investigations that he has conducted along with his group. Now, Michael, a lot of people know about EVPs, but there are very few people that I'm aware of that actually know about ITC. So can you tell us about ITC?
ITC, instrumental communication. That is a field in EVP work, ITC, where we use different types of instruments or electronics to communicate. White noise, radios that have been modified to scan the frequencies really fast. In the field, a lot of people call them ghost boxes. When I worked with 3AM Paranormal, a man out in California, Frank Sumption, had made the Frank's box that got quite famous across the country. That does exactly that. We had two of those on the teams at that time. SP7s, a lot of people use now for that. Ovulus, we've been working with an Ovulus, which is like a miniature computer that has a library of words programmed in, and theory behind that is that spirits can actually communicate by accessing these words and talking through the instrument. A lot of it's still a science, and it's not proven.
Sure.
The most proven thing is the ghost box, where you've had communication when you get sentences that is never going to be broadcast over an open wave radio, and you deal with that. But also you record it at the time, so you have documentation of this.
What is the main purpose for a group like yours when it comes to investigating the paranormal? What is the ultimate goal?
Most of the people on the team are like anybody else. They want answers. They've all had individual experiences over the years in the paranormal. Our main goal, I guess, would be to help the client. We go in, when people have reached the point that they have to call a group in like ours to help them. They want to know what's going on and why, and if there's anything we can do. So we go in, we try to gain this evidence, we try to prove or disprove a haunting. We present this evidence to them, we give them options, what we can do. We could try to do a cleansing. We try, whatever the client feels they need done, we try to help the client. And the main goal is to help people that having, issues in this.
How does a cleansing work?
A cleansing, the members of the team, Destiny, Kayla, and Taylor, are on the team. They mainly work with the demonic, but they also do the cleansing. They go in. Of course, they deal with the different religious backgrounds of the client, but they'll go in, use sage sticks, which is has a background of the Indians, the American Indians, and they will try to communicate. They try to get these spirits to move on, and they use different methods. Religious side, the prayers, holy water, anointed oils, things like that. But most of that stuff doesn't really work that well with human entities. It usually affects the demonic entities that are inhabiting the building. But human entities, you have to kind of coax to move on.
Why the Native American aspect with the cleansing? Isn't there anything that can be done that the Europeans or the Western Europeans brought over with them when they came over to America?
Yeah, there's methods also with that. The Native American methods, they've had such a success with those because it seemed like the Indians were more connected with the spirit world than any other group over the time, over many, many years, that they just were more in tune with the world, the earth, Mother Earth, and they seemed to be able to deal with it. Even though they didn't have formal education, but they did know about spirits.
Would the Native American system of cleansing work in, let's say, another country like Australia or in other parts of Europe? Or do you think it's localized to work only within the confines of America?
No, I think it would work anywhere in Europe or any other country. I've known teams, that over at the UK, and they used a lot of the same methods that we use here in the U.S.
How would you proceed? Let's say I call you up and I say, Michael, I think my house is haunted, and I'd like you and your team to come down and tell me what's going on. From that phone call, how do you and your team proceed?
When I first get the phone call, I will do a phone interview with the potential clients. I ask them a series of questions. Some of the questions are, a little personal and tough, but, I explain to them beforehand, the type of questioning that I need to ask, and then we'll go through that phase of it. We discuss it with the team members, and then we set up a meeting with the client at the home or the premises. One or two people will walk through, even in the daytime, and they'll take baseline readings.
Right.
We write down everything the client's telling us that they're experiencing or feeling. When they first call, I usually tell the client, until we get there, to start keeping a log or diary of everything that happens, what time it happens, and what they're feeling at that time.
In your
we can use that during the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say. So you use that information as part of your investigation. So you kind of rule out certain things and focus on others.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
What kind of questions would you ask? You said that some of the questions are rather harsh. What kind would they be? Would they be like asking them if they are on drugs, if they use alcohol, if they have any mental illness, and so on?
Exactly. That's exactly the questions I ask.
Gotcha.
What type of medications they're on.
Out of 100 investigations that you're called to do, what would you say the percentages that are not related to the paranormal but are related to mortal and more earthly causes?
I would probably say 45%.
Wow. And how do people react when you and your team, you've gone back to your offices or your homes, and then comes the tedious chore of going through all the digital recordings, both audio and video? You've got 12 cameras, you've got 12 screens on your DVR. Each screen has to be, each camera has to be looked at not only for video, but then you've got the retracking of the audio and so on. Could take you weeks in order to, do your summary. You go back to the house and you say, sorry, we could not find anything paranormal here. How do they react?
Some of them in the past have been relieved, and we've actually had, some previous clients that would get angry at us because we couldn't find anything.
Wow.
They would blame us, say, well, you didn't do something right, or, you must have scared them off.
Do you find that once you're there and your team does its work, that between the time of the investigation and the time you come back, that there is very little paranormal activity within the residence or the building?
Yeah, a lot of times that is the case. but we have had instances where we've got in and it just all heck broke loose.
Really?
on us. Yes.
Is there a difference between the way that you and your team would conduct a ghost investigation compared to a demonic investigation?
First investigation is pretty much the same. When we make that determination, if we feel that it's demonic, it's the same setup. We set up the same equipment. We're using the same sensors, recorders. Everything's pretty much the same, except when either myself or my wife Destiny, as co-director and also heads up the demonic side, if one of us makes the determination that we're dealing with something demonic or non-human, then we kind of shift gears at that point, and we'll pull the entire team out, and she takes her specialized team in.
You said that if you made a separation between a demonic or non-human. Now, how do you describe, or how would you describe a demonic entity? Where does it come from? How does it differ from a ghost?
Well, a ghost, is believed that it's a human being that has lived on this earth that has passed, and its energy continues to exist. But it had lived, it had been flesh and blood at one time. A demonic is an entity that's never lived. It's never breathed air like we breathe air. It's never, walked the earth as a free soul like we are.
So where do they come from?
Well, there's a lot of different theories about it. A lot of people think, they come from, hell, or,
Right.
or they live on the dark side, but, and some people just think they've always been here. They're just an evil, dark spirit that never lived, that focuses on tormenting, the living forever and ever.
So when it comes to a demonic possession, how do you rid the house or the property of that demon?
Well, the team, again, my demonologist,
Your wife,
Destiny, and
yeah.
you're right, and her team, which is two other ladies that are very knowledgeable, that she handpicked and she trained over, the last couple of years, and they go in and they'll actually perform a type of exorcism.
Now, do they perform the exorcism on the property or on the people within the house? Because isn't an exorcism only done when a person is possessed by a demonic entity or a demonic spirit?
Not necessarily. They've actually done exorcisms on the property or the house too, and on the individual person. And she said, I've seen them when they've had to do both.
So where does the demonic entity or the demon go when they're exorcised?
That's a $10 million question. I'm not sure where they go. If my team is successful in driving them away from the client that we're dealing with at the time, I consider that a success. But I don't know if they go back, to hell or wherever they originated from. There's just not a lot known about them other, than the scholars that, that study the Bible.
Right.
They have their opinions, the demons, are workers of Satan.
But Satan was a fallen angel, so can he be all that bad if at one time he was an angel himself?
Well, I don't know. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Satan was a fallen angel, and he, according to the Bible, he was one of the most beautiful angels, that was in heaven. So, but he did get greedy, I guess, according to the scriptures, and I don't know, if God changed his appearance at that time, or he still may, look the same as he did.
Yeah, well, we don't know, do we? Listen, a lot of people, when they hear about an exorcism, they think of the movie The Exorcist, where you had the spinning of the head, the puking of the pea soup, you had the levitation. How different is a real exorcism from the Hollywood exorcism?
It's not as dramatized as the Hollywood exorcism that people have seen on the movie like The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I've never personally seen the pea soup thing. Now, my wife has described. She has seen some stuff that really shook me up when she told me about dealing with possessions.
Right.
And actually, she has experienced the levitation part and the physical sickness part. She's seen that.
Does holy water really work when it comes to a demonic entity?
I don't know if it really works. I think it's more convincing the entity you're dealing with that this stuff is going to hurt you. So maybe, it shies them away because, they think, oh, well, they've got something, supernatural, powerful stuff they're going to throw on.
All right, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is Michael Fox. And if you'd like more information on Michael, his team, or how you can contact Michael, the website is foxfamilyparanorma.wix.com/FFPS. And Michael and I will be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. until midnight here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and starting March 21st from 3 p.m. until 7 p.m. Pacific on the Mutual Broadcast Network. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Michael Fox is our guest. www.foxfamilyparanorma.wix.com/FFPS. Michael, how do you and your team, especially your wife since she's the demonologist, how do you guys protect yourselves from bringing something home with you?
We use several methods on the team. I have several people on the team have different beliefs,
right?
From Christian to Wiccan to pagan, and we kind of combine all these different beliefs and religions together, and we usually will say a prayer before an investigation and form a circle, and we tell each member of the team, okay, in their own beliefs, to visualize a protection around you, that nothing can penetrate, and we ask whoever you believe in or what, higher being you believe in, we ask them to ask their belief being to protect them during this investigation.
And there's a lot of TV shows now about the paranormal and ghost hunting, Bigfoot, flying saucers, you name it, there's an audience for it. How do you, as the director of a paranormal investigation group, how do you look at the TV shows? Do you look at them as an asset to what you're doing or a hindrance?
I think a lot of times they're probably a hindrance.
Why would that be, Mike?
Because they give the general public a misconception of a paranormal investigation on a lot of these programs that are out today, on actually what happens during an investigation. But of course, the investigation is broken down for television, and jammed into a 30-minute segment or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
Something that take hours actually to do.
And like you and I were talking before, once you've done the investigation, if you've done an 8-hour investigation with 12 cameras and God only knows how many EVP recorders, all of that information has got to be looked at, listened to, and that could take weeks. And that's the part of the investigation that they very rarely show on TV. So I can understand your frustration. Mike, we've got about a minute left. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. And what are your final thoughts for the X Zone Nation tonight when it comes to the paranormal, ghosts, and demons?
Just, the public to be more aware and more open about what happens around them, and, not to be shy or hesitant to call a group in. We're on Facebook. We have 2 different Facebook pages. We get a lot of our cases off Facebook. Fox Family Paranormal on Facebook. Anybody can find us on there. And our team members are very knowledgeable, and we've had people contact them, So just people to be more open-minded about what's happening and not hold it in. We've had clients that say, they've gone for years and years before they got to the point they had to call somebody in, because they're ashamed or embarrassed that they even tell anybody. And it's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Michael, again, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Continued success. And I look forward to the next time when you join us back here into the X Zone. Until then, be safe.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Michael. Well, that's it for tonight, X Zone Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. So until tomorrow night, X Zone Nation, always remember, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.